Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the UNS Endeavour and watched the alien ships appear. They came out of nowhere. One moment, the space around Earth was empty. The next moment, 12 massive vessels hung in the darkness like silver moons. Each ship was 3 times bigger than anything humans had ever built. The communications officer turned to her. His face was pale. "Admiral, we're receiving a message. It's in perfect English." "Put it through," Chen said. Her heart was beating fast. This was it. First contact. The moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. A voice came through the speakers. It was soft and musical. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Galactic Council. We come in peace. We have watched your species for many years. Now you are ready to join us. We welcome you to the galactic community." Cheers erupted across the bridge. People hugged each other. Some were crying. Humanity was not alone anymore. The stars were full of friends. 3 days later, Admiral Chen led a fleet of 5 ships to the meeting point. The Council had chosen a location near Mars. Chen had selected the best ships humanity had. The Endeavour was the flagship. It carried the latest defensive systems, nuclear missiles, and railguns. The other 4 ships were cruisers, each armed with enough firepower to level a city. "These are our diplomatic vessels," Chen had explained to the crew. "We're showing them our best. We're showing them we're civilized but strong." As the human ships approached the rendezvous point, Chen noticed something strange. The alien vessels had no weapons, not even basic defensive guns. Their hulls were smooth and decorated with beautiful patterns that glowed with soft light. "Scan them," she ordered. "Find their weapon systems." The tactical officer worked for several minutes. Finally, he looked up. "Admiral, I can't find any weapons." "Not even shields." "These ships are completely defenseless," Chen frowned. That made no sense. How did they travel through space without protection? What about pirates? What about accidents? The meeting took place on the Council's largest ship. Chen brought a security team of 20 soldiers. They wore dress uniforms but carried sidearms. Standard diplomatic protocol. The Council chamber was beautiful. The walls seemed to be made of living crystal that changed colors. 5 aliens waited for them. They looked different from each other. One was tall and thin with blue skin. Another was short and round with fur. A third had scales and 4 arms. But they all had the same expression when they saw the humans. Fear. The tall blue one stepped forward. "Welcome," it said. Its voice shook slightly. "I am Ambassador Talon of the Council. We are honored to meet you." "Thank you," Chen said. She smiled and extended her hand. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Nations Space Force." Talon looked at her hand like it was a weapon. After a long pause, it touched her hand briefly and pulled back quickly. "Please," Talon said, "show us your world. Help us understand your people." Chen nodded to her aide, who activated a holographic display. Images of Earth appeared in the air. Beautiful cities, green forests, blue oceans, children playing in parks. The aliens relaxed slightly. Then Chen switched to the next section, human history. The display showed ancient warriors, medieval battles, World War I, World War II, the atomic bombs, the Cold War, modern military exercises. "Our history has been difficult," Chen explained. "We fought many wars. We made terrible mistakes. But we learned, we grew. Now we are united. We come in peace." She looked at the aliens. They were all staring at the images. Their faces showed horror. The furry one had backed against the wall. The scaled one was shaking. You killed your own kind?" Talon whispered. "Billions of your own people?" "Yes," Chen said quietly. "It was wrong. But that was our past. Now we know better." "Show us your ships," another alien said. Its voice was hard. "Show us these diplomatic vessels you brought." Chen brought up the specifications. The Endeavour rotated slowly in the hologram. The display highlighted its systems. Point defense lasers, missile batteries, kinetic weapons, nuclear warheads, electronic warfare suites. "This is a diplomatic ship?" Talon asked. Its voice was barely audible. "Yes," Chen said. She was confused now. "It's one of our lighter vessels. We brought smaller ships for this meeting. We didn't want to seem aggressive." "Lighter." The scaled alien moved toward the door. "That vessel could destroy a planet." "What?" "No," Chen said quickly. "These are just defensive systems. For protection. Every ship has them. Don't you have weapons on your ships?" "Weapons?" Talon looked at her like she had suggested eating poison. Why would we have weapons? Who would we use them against? Pirates. Hostile forces. Accidents, Chen said. Basic security. There are no pirates, Talon said slowly. There are no hostile forces. Violence is not. We don't. This meeting is over. The aliens rushed from the room. Within minutes, their ships began moving away. Chen and her team were escorted back to the Endeavor by silent alien crew members who wouldn't look at them. Back on the bridge, Chen watched the council ships jump to faster-than-light speed. They were running away. Admiral, the communications officer said, we're receiving an official message from the council. They're declaring humanity a potential galactic threat. They're recommending quarantine protocols. Chen sat down heavily. First contact had lasted less than 3 hours. Humanity had waited centuries to meet aliens. Now those aliens were afraid of them. What did we do wrong? Someone asked. Chen looked at the empty space where the alien ships had been. We were ourselves, she said quietly. We showed them who we are, and they ran away. News traveled fast across the galaxy. Within days, every civilized world knew about the humans, the species from the Death World, the species that killed billions of their own kind, the species whose diplomatic ships could destroy planets. Ambassador Talayan sat in the council chambers and watched the emergency session. Representatives from 3,000 worlds filled the massive hall. Everyone was talking at once. They must be quarantined, someone shouted. We cannot allow such violence into civilized space. They have nuclear weapons, another voice called out. Do you understand what that means? They weaponized atomic energy. Who does that? Silence, the council leader said. She was an ancient being from the eldest race. Her species had been traveling the stars for 10,000 years. We must understand before we judge. Talon, you met them. Tell us about these humans, Talon stood. Its blue skin had turned pale. They are terrifying, it said honestly. But they claim to come in peace. They say their violent past is behind them. How can we believe that? Someone asked. How can anyone with such weapons be peaceful? We must try to understand, the council leader said. Send them a message. Ask them to explain themselves. Ask them why they are this way. The message reached Earth 3 days later. Admiral Chen read it carefully. It was formal and cold. The council wanted answers. They wanted to know why humans were so violent. Why they built weapons. Why they couldn't be peaceful like everyone else. Chen gathered her team. They worked for 2 weeks on a response. They tried to explain Earth's history. They talked about evolution, about competition for resources, about predators and prey, about how humans had to fight to survive. Our world is different from yours, Chen wrote. Earth is what you call a death world. Our planet tried to kill us every day. We had predators with sharp teeth and claws. We had diseases. We had natural disasters. We learned to fight back or die. She explained about tribes competing for food, about nations fighting for land, about the long, bloody road to peace. We are not violent because we want to be, she wrote. We are violent because we had to be. But we learned, we grew. Now we want peace. Please give us a chance, the council received the message. They read it in horror. Then they shared their own history. Most council species came from prey animals. They evolved on peaceful worlds with mild climates. They had no predators, no wars, no need for violence. When they developed intelligence, they naturally worked together. Fighting never occurred to them. We have had peace for millennia, the council leader explained in a message to Earth. Our civilizations are built on cooperation. We share resources. We help each other. The idea of violence is foreign to us. It is unnatural. Your weapons are not tools of defense to us, she continued. They are tools of murder. You say you need them for protection. Protection from what? There is nothing to protect against. The galaxy is safe. Chen felt a chill reading those words. The galaxy was safe because everyone was peaceful. But what if that changed? What if something dangerous came along? How would these aliens defend themselves? She pushed the thought away. They had to focus on fixing this misunderstanding. The council decided to try a cultural exchange. Maybe if the aliens understood human culture better, they would be less afraid. They asked for human entertainment, movies, books, games, anything that showed what humans were like. Earth's diplomats were excited. This was their chance. They carefully selected materials that showed humanity's best side. Documentaries about nature, films about love and friendship, beautiful music. Art from every culture, but someone made a mistake. In the data package, they accidentally included some of Earth's most popular entertainment. Action movies, war films, video games. The council watched the action movies first. They saw humans fighting, shooting, exploding things. The movies were fiction, but the council didn't understand that. They thought these were documentaries. They make entertainment about killing, Talon said in the emergency council meeting. They watch violence for fun. What kind of species does that? Then they found the video games. They watched recordings of humans playing war simulations, first-person shooters, strategy games where armies fought for control of territory. They train their children to fight, someone said. They give their young ones weapons simulations. They teach violence from birth. It's just games, Chen tried to explain in her next message. It's pretend. It's fantasy. No one is actually hurt. It's like sports, competition. But the council didn't have sports that involved violence. They didn't have competition where one side won and another lost. Their games were cooperative. Everyone worked together. The situation got worse. The council began studying human military equipment more carefully. They learned about tanks, about fighter jets, about submarines and aircraft carriers, about the thousands of nuclear weapons humans still maintained. Why do you still have these weapons? The council leader asked. You say you have peace. You say you are united. Why do you keep weapons that can destroy your own world? Deterrence, Chen explained. If everyone has weapons, no one uses them. It keeps the peace. That makes no sense, Talon replied. You keep weapons to prevent their use? Why not simply not have weapons? Chen realized they were speaking different languages. Not literally, but in every way that mattered. Humans and the council saw the universe differently. They had different assumptions about safety, about trust, about the nature of peace. The council held a vote. Should humanity be allowed to join galactic civilization, or should they be quarantined to their own solar system? The vote was close. Many species were terrified of humans. They wanted them locked away. But others were curious. They wanted to learn more. They believed humans could change. The council leader made the final decision. We will not quarantine them, she said. But we cannot allow them full membership either. Not yet. Humans must prove they can be peaceful. They must disarm their weapons. They must show us they have changed. The message came to Earth. The demand was clear. Destroy all weapons. Dismantle all military forces. Become peaceful like the rest of the galaxy. Only then would humanity be welcome. Chen stood in front of the United Nations Assembly. World leaders from every nation stared at her, waiting for her recommendation. They want us defenseless, she said. They want us to trust that the galaxy will always be safe, that nothing bad will ever happen, that we'll never need to protect ourselves. Can we trust that? Someone asked. Chen thought about the council, about their peaceful ships with no weapons, about their innocent belief that violence was impossible, about how they had lived in safety for thousands of years. I don't know, she said honestly. I hope so. But something feels wrong. No civilization survives for thousands of years without any threats, without any challenges. It's too perfect, so what do we do? The UN Secretary General asked. We wait, Chen said. We talk, we try to understand. But we don't disarm, not yet. Not until we know more about this galaxy. Not until we understand why it's so peaceful. The decision was made. Humanity would not disarm. They would remain cautious. Remain ready. In the council chambers, Talon received the news. The humans had refused. They are too dangerous, the council leader said sadly. We have no choice. We must prepare defensive measures. What defensive measures? Talon asked. We have no weapons. We have no military. How do we defend against them? The council leader had no answer. For the first time in millennia, the Galactic Council was afraid. 6 months passed. Relations between humanity and the council remained frozen. Then the science team made a discovery that changed everything. The research vessel UNS Discovery was exploring the edge of known space. They were looking for new worlds, new resources, new possibilities. Instead, they found something impossible. Admiral Chen, Captain Rodriguez said over the communication link. His voice was shaking with excitement. You need to see this. We found a dead world, but it's not natural. Something destroyed this planet deliberately. Chen studied the images. The planet was gray and lifeless. Its surface was covered in ruins, cities that had fallen millions of years ago, but the ruins were huge, advanced. This civilization had been powerful once. We found something else, Rodriguez continued. An archive. A storage facility buried deep underground. It's still functioning after all this time. Admiral, the data inside. You won't believe it. Chen took her fastest ship to the site. When she arrived, the science team was already working. They had brought up the archive. It was a black cube 3 meters on each side. It hummed with power. We managed to activate it, Dr. Sarah Kim explained. She was humanity's leading expert on alien technology. It contains historical records, millions of years of galactic history. Admiral, everything we thought we knew about the Council is wrong. They watched the records together. The archive showed a different galaxy, a violent galaxy. Thousands of species fought for territory, for resources, for survival. Wars raged across the stars. This was 3 million years ago, Kim said. The galaxy was full of species like us, predators, warriors, everyone had weapons. Everyone fought. What happened? Chen asked. The archive answered. It showed a species called the Gardeners. They were ancient and wise. They had watched the galaxy tear itself apart for millennia. Finally, they decided to fix it. They created a biological weapon, Kim said. Her voice was quiet. A virus. It spread across the entire galaxy. It targeted specific genes. Genes related to aggression, to violence, to predatory behavior. Chen felt cold. They changed every species in the galaxy? Yes, Kim said. The virus didn't kill. It modified. Over generations, it made species more peaceful, more cooperative, less aggressive. The predator species slowly became prey species. The warrior cultures forgot how to fight. The archive showed the results. Within 1,000 years, the galactic wars ended. Species that had fought for millions of years suddenly couldn't remember why. They laid down their weapons. They formed the Council. They built a peaceful civilization. The entire galactic civilization is artificial, Chen said. Their peace isn't natural. It was forced on them. That's not all, Kim said. She looked frightened. The archive explains why the Gardeners did this. They were preparing for something. A threat from outside the galaxy. Something terrible was coming. The archive displayed star maps. They showed vast structures moving between galaxies. Machine intelligences, harvesters, the Gardeners called them. They traveled from galaxy to galaxy, consuming civilizations, using their resources, destroying everything. The Gardeners wanted to create a united galaxy, Kim explained. A galaxy that could stand together against the harvesters. But they ran out of time. The records end suddenly. The Gardeners vanished. No one knows what happened to them. And the harvesters? Chen asked. According to these calculations, Kim said, they should arrive in this galaxy within the next decade. Chen sat down slowly. The galaxy was in danger, and no one knew it. The Council had no weapons, no military, no way to defend themselves. They had been pacified so completely that they couldn't even understand the threat. We have to tell them, she said. Will they believe us? Kim asked. They already think we're dangerous. If we tell them their entire civilization is based on genetic manipulation, if we tell them there's an outside threat, they might think it's a trick. Chen knew she was right, but they had to try. She sent a message to the Council. She included all the data from the archive, all the proof, all the warnings. We found something you need to see, she wrote. Your peace is not what you think it is. Your history has been hidden from you, and something terrible is coming. The Council received the message. They studied the data. Scientists from 100 worlds verified the information. It was all true. The revelation shook the galaxy. Every species learned that their peaceful nature was artificial, that their ancestors had been warriors once, that they had been changed without their consent. Some species were angry. They felt violated. Others were relieved. At least now they understood why they were different from humans, why violence seemed so foreign, but most were terrified. The harvesters were coming, and the galaxy had no defenses. The Council leader called an emergency session. For the first time, human representatives were invited to attend. Chen stood before the assembled delegates. 3,000 species looked at her. Their expressions were no longer afraid. They were desperate. We don't know how to fight, the Council leader said. Our species have been peaceful for millions of years. We don't have weapons. We don't have soldiers. We don't have strategies or tactics. We are defenseless, she paused. When she spoke again, her voice was quiet. But you do. You remember how to fight. You never lost that knowledge. You are what we used to be, what we need to be again. Are you asking for our help? Chen said. Yes, the council leader said. We are asking. We were wrong to fear you. Wrong to judge you. You are not monsters. You are survivors, and we need you to teach us how to survive. Ambassador Talon stepped forward. Its blue skin was darker now, showing stress. We have debated among ourselves, it said. Some believe we should reject violence even now, that we should remain peaceful no matter what comes. But most of us understand the truth, Talon continued. Peace is beautiful, but peace must be protected, and sometimes protection requires strength. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species agreed. Others protested. The debate raged for hours. Finally, the council leader called for silence. We will vote, she said. Should we accept humanity's help? Should we learn to defend ourselves? Should we prepare for war? The vote was called. Species that had never fought, that had never even thought about fighting, had to decide. Would they remain peaceful and die? Or would they learn violence and survive? The results came in. It was not unanimous. Many species abstained. Many voted no, but the majority voted yes. We accept your offer, the council leader told Chen. Teach us, help us, show us how to fight. Chen looked at the assembled delegates, these peaceful beings who had lived without conflict for millions of years, who were now asking to become warriors. We'll help you, she said, but understand this. Once you learn to fight, you can't unlearn it. Once you pick up a weapon, you carry its weight forever. War changes people. It changes civilizations. We understand, the council leader said, and we accept the cost. Better to change and survive than remain pure and die. Chen nodded. Then we begin immediately. We don't have much time. The alarm woke Admiral Chen at 3 a.m. Her terminal was flashing red. Emergency alert. Maximum priority. She was on the bridge in 5 minutes. The crew was already there, their faces pale. What is it? She asked. Long-range sensors picked up massive structures entering the galaxy. The tactical officer said. Admiral, they match the descriptions from the archive. The harvesters are here. Chen felt her stomach drop. How long do we have? They're heading for council space. Based on their speed, they'll reach the first inhabited systems in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. They had trained the council species for 8 months. It wasn't enough. Not nearly enough. The council had tried. Really tried. Thousands of species had signed up for military training. Humans had taught them how to operate weapons, how to follow orders, how to think tactically. But 8 months couldn't undo 3 million years of pacification. Some species took to it better than others. The Vor, a reptilian race, discovered they still had warrior instincts buried deep in their genes. They learned quickly, but most species struggled. The idea of hurting others, even in simulation, made them physically sick. Send word to the council, Chen ordered. Tell them the harvesters are here. The message reached the council chambers within minutes. Panic spread across the galaxy. The threat they had feared was real. And it was early. The harvesters reached the outer rim 3 days ahead of schedule. Their first target was a peaceful farming world called Thessia Prime. 2 million inhabitants. No weapons. No military. The council sent a diplomatic vessel. It approached the harvester ship broadcasting messages of peace, offering cooperation, asking for dialogue. The harvester ship didn't respond. It simply opened fire. The diplomatic vessel was destroyed in seconds. Then the harvester turned its weapons on Thessia Prime. The bombardment lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the planet was dead. Every city destroyed. Every living thing erased. The galaxy watched in horror. This was real. This was happening. And they had no idea how to stop it. We need to evacuate, someone suggested in the council chamber. We need to run. Run where? The council leader asked. They'll chase us. They'll find us. We cannot run forever. Then what do we do? Talon asked. We fight, Chen said. She had arrived at the council chambers an hour ago. We stand and fight. We don't know how, someone protested. We're not ready. You'll never be ready, Chen said bluntly. No one is ever ready for war. You just do it. You fight because the alternative is death. She activated a holographic display. We have 17 human battle groups, 20,000 ships. They're spread across council space right now, protecting key worlds. But it's not enough. We need your fleets too. Our ships have no weapons, Talon said. Then we'll arm them, Chen said. We've been manufacturing weapons for 8 months. We have supplies ready. We can retrofit your ships, turn them into fighting vessels, and how long will that take? The council leader asked. Too long, Chen admitted. But we don't have a choice. Every ship helps. Every weapon matters. The council mobilized. Millions of civilian ships were brought in for conversion. Human engineers worked around the clock, installing weapon systems, teaching alien crews how to use them. Meanwhile, the harvesters kept moving. They destroyed another world, then another. They were methodical, efficient. They didn't waste time. They just killed and moved on. Chen assembled the first joint battle group, 50 human warships, 200 newly armed council vessels, 5,000 fighters. It wasn't much, but it was something. We intercept them at Targus Station, she told the fleet commanders. It's a major trade hub. If they take it, they control the whole sector. We stopped them there. The fleet jumped to Targus. They arrived 2 hours before the harvesters. Just enough time to set up defensive positions. Chen stood on the bridge of the Endeavor. Around her, the fleet waited. Human ships held the center. Council ships spread out on the flanks. Everyone was nervous. Most of the council crews had never been in combat. They're coming, the sensor officer announced. The harvester ship appeared. It was massive, 10 times bigger than anything in the council fleet. Its hull was dark metal covered in weapons. It looked like death. All ships, Chen said into the fleet channel. This is it. Remember your training. Follow your orders, and most importantly, don't give up. We can do this. The harvester opened fire first. Beams of energy lanced out, hitting council ships. Shields flared and died. Hull plating melted. Ships exploded. Return fire, Chen ordered. The human ships responded immediately. Missiles streaked across space. Railguns fired. Nuclear warheads detonated against the harvester's shields. The council ships hesitated for a moment, then joined in. Their newly installed weapons fired. The harvester's shields held. It turned its weapons on the human ships now. The Endeavor rocked as energy beams struck her hull. Damage reports flooded in. Concentrate fire on Section 7, Chen ordered. All ships target the same point. Overwhelm their shields, the fleet obeyed. Hundreds of weapons focused on a single point. The harvester's shield flickered, then failed. Now! Hit them now! Chen shouted. A barrage of missiles struck the exposed hull. Explosions rippled across the harvester's surface. It began to list to one side. We're hurting it, someone said, but the harvester wasn't done. It launched its own fighters. Thousands of small drones poured out of its hangar bays. They swarmed toward the fleet. Point defense, engage, Chen ordered. Fighters, intercept those drones. The battle became chaos. Ships fired in all directions. Fighters dueled with drones. Explosions lit up the darkness. Council ships tried to follow their training. Some succeeded. Others panicked and broke formation. The fight lasted 3 hours. When it was over, the harvester ship was retreating. It was damaged, bleeding atmosphere, but it wasn't destroyed. The fleet had won. Barely. Chen looked at the casualty reports. 23 ships lost, 8,000 dead. Most of them were council crew members who had never fought before yesterday. But they had fought. They had stood their ground, and they had won. The news spread across the galaxy instantly. The harvesters could be hurt. They could be stopped. For the first time since the invasion began, the council had hope. In the council chambers, the leader addressed the assembly. We have seen what is possible, she said. We can defend ourselves. We can fight back, but we cannot do it alone. We need humanity. We need their strength, their courage, their knowledge of war. She turned to where Chen was standing. Will you stand with us? Will you fight for the galaxy? Chen didn't hesitate. Yes, she said. We'll fight. For Earth, for the Council, for everyone. The chamber erupted in cheers. The galaxy that had feared humanity 6 months ago now welcomed them. The monsters had become heroes, but Chen knew the truth. The real war was just beginning. The war lasted 2 years. 2 long, bloody years of fighting across the galaxy. The harvesters were relentless. They kept coming, wave after wave of ships, each one bigger and deadlier than the last. But the galaxy fought back. Humanity taught them everything. Tactics, strategy, the ugly mathematics of acceptable losses. The council species learned slowly at first. Then faster, some of them discovered something surprising. Deep in their genes, buried under millions of years of pacification, the warrior instincts remained. The Vor were the first to fully awaken. Their reptilian ancestors had been apex predators. Now, given permission to fight, they excelled. They formed elite units that fought alongside human Marines. They were fierce, brave, natural soldiers. Other species followed. The Kelith, a species of bird-like beings, became expert pilots. The massive Thun discovered they were excellent at defensive operations. Even the peaceful Talari, who had protested the loudest against learning violence, found their place as tactical coordinators. Admiral Chen watched the transformation with mixed feelings. She was proud of what the Council species had become, but she also saw the cost. The innocence they had lost. The peace they would never fully recover. "We've changed them," she told Ambassador Talon one night. They were both exhausted from another long day of planning. "They'll never be the same." Talon's blue skin was darker now, scarred from a battle wound. "No," it agreed. "We will never be the same. But we will be alive. That is what matters." The final battle came in the 3rd year. The Harvesters had been pushed back, but they regrouped at the edge of the galaxy. Intelligence reports said they were building something. A massive structure, a command ship that would coordinate all their forces. "If that ship becomes operational," Chen told the War Council, "we lose. It'll control their entire fleet like a hive mind. We have to destroy it before it's finished." "How long do we have?" the council leader asked. 3 weeks, Chen said. "Maybe less." The galaxy mobilized everything. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon. This would be the final push. Win or lose, it would end here. The combined fleet was massive. 5,000 human warships, 30,000 council vessels, 2 million fighters. It was the largest military force the galaxy had ever assembled. Chen stood on the bridge of the Endeavor. Around her, the fleet stretched in all directions. Human ships, Vor battlecruisers, Kelith carriers, Thun defense platforms, species that had never fought together, species that 6 months ago didn't know how to fight at all. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen," she said into the fleet-wide channel. "In a few minutes, we jump to the target. This is it, the final battle. Everything we fought for comes down to this moment." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "I won't lie to you. Many of us won't come back. The Harvesters will fight with everything they have. This will be the hardest battle we've ever faced. But we fight for something they can never understand. We fight for our homes, our families, our future. They are machines. We are alive, and life always finds a way to survive." She took a deep breath. "All ships, jump on my mark. 3, 2, 1, jump." The fleet vanished in a flash of light. When they reappeared, the Harvester structure filled their screens. It was enormous. A city in space, half finished but already operational. Thousands of Harvester ships surrounded it. "Contact," the tactical officer announced. "Enemy ships moving to intercept. All ships engage," Chen ordered. The battle was chaos from the first second. Ships from both sides collided in a massive furball. Weapons fire lit up space. Explosions bloomed like deadly flowers. Fighters dogfought between the capital ships. Missiles streaked in every direction. The human ships pushed forward, breaking through the Harvester lines. The Vor followed, their battlecruisers hammering enemy positions. The Kelith fighters danced through the enemy formation, their pilots showing skills that would have been impossible a year ago. But the Harvesters fought back hard. Their weapons were devastating. Council ships exploded by the dozens. Human vessels took catastrophic damage. The casualties mounted by the minute. "We're losing too many ships," the tactical officer reported. "At this rate, we won't make it to the target." Chen made a decision. "Human battle groups Alpha through Delta form up on me. We're going to punch through. Everyone else cover us." "Admiral, that's suicide," her first officer said. "Maybe," Chen agreed. "But it's the only way. We have to take out that command ship." 2,000 human ships formed a wedge. They charged straight at the Harvester command ship. Enemy fire tore into them. Ships died. Crew members died. But they kept going. The Council fleet saw what was happening. They saw the humans sacrificing themselves, and they followed. "This is Vor Commander Kresh," a voice came over the channel. "All Vor units follow the humans. We fight together. We die together." "Kelith wings joining the attack," another voice said. "For the galaxy." "Thun defense groups moving up," a deep voice rumbled. "No one fights alone today." The entire fleet surged forward as one. Human and alien, predator and prey, warriors all. They hit the command ship like a hammer. Nuclear warheads detonated against its shields. Railguns punched through its armor, energy weapons carved into its hull. The massive structure shuddered under the assault. "Keep firing," Chen shouted. "Don't stop." The Endeavor's shields failed. Energy beams struck her hull. Compartments vented to space. The ship was dying, but Chen kept her focused on the target. "Fire everything," she ordered. "All remaining missiles. All nuclear warheads. Everything we have." The Endeavor launched her final salvo. Dozens of nuclear missiles streaked toward the command ship. They struck in a cascade of explosions. The command ship's shields collapsed. Its hull cracked open. "Target destroyed," someone said. "The command ship is breaking apart." Across the battlefield, the harvester ships suddenly went silent. Without the command ship, they lost coordination. They stopped fighting. Some tried to retreat. Others just drifted, their systems shutting down. "We did it," the first officer said. "We won." Chen slumped in her chair. Around her, the crew was cheering. But she couldn't celebrate, not yet. She looked at the casualty reports. 40% of the fleet was gone. Hundreds of thousands dead. The victory was real. But the cost was terrible. 3 months later, Chen stood in the rebuilt council chambers. The war was over. The harvesters had been driven out of the galaxy. The few remaining ships had retreated to deep space. The council leader stepped forward. She looked older now. Tired. "We owe humanity a debt we can never repay," she said. "You saved us. You taught us. You showed us how to survive." "We didn't save you," Chen said. "You saved yourselves. You learned to fight. You found your courage. You did what you had to do. But we could not have done it without you," Talon said. It stood beside the council leader now, promoted for its service in the war. "Humanity gave us something precious. Not weapons, not tactics, but the will to use them." The council voted that day. The old council, the one built on artificial peace, was dissolved. A new government formed, one that balanced peace with strength, cooperation with readiness, hope with caution. Humanity was given a place of honor, no longer feared as monsters, no longer judged for their violent past. They were recognized for what they truly were: survivors, warriors when needed, peacemakers when possible. Chen walked through the streets of the council homeworld a week later. Everywhere she looked, she saw changes. Monuments to the fallen, training centers where young aliens learned to defend themselves, factories building weapons and warships. But she also saw something else: parks where children played, markets full of life, people laughing and talking. The galaxy had learned to be warriors, but they hadn't forgotten how to be peaceful. A group of alien children ran past her. They were playing a game, chasing each other, pretending to be soldiers. Human soldiers and Vor warriors fighting side by side against imaginary enemies. One of the children noticed Chen's uniform. "Are you a real soldier?" the child asked. "I am," Chen said. "Did you fight the harvesters?" another child asked, eyes wide. "Yes," Chen said. "We all did. Humans and council species together. Were you scared?" the first child asked. Chen knelt down to their level. "Yes," she said honestly. "I was terrified. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means doing what you have to do even when you're scared." The children nodded seriously. Then they ran off to continue their game. Chen stood and continued walking. Above her, she saw warships patrolling the sky. Human vessels and council ships flying together, a joint fleet protecting the homeworld. It was a strange sight, beautiful and terrible at the same time. The galaxy had changed, forever. Later that evening, Chen met with Talon on an observation deck. They looked out at the stars together. "Do you think they'll come back?" Talon asked. "The harvesters?" "Maybe," Chen said. "Probably. But if they do, we'll be ready." "We have lost our innocence," Talon said quietly. "We can never go back to what we were." "No," Chen agreed. "But you've gained something too. The strength to protect what you love, the courage to face danger, the unity that comes from fighting together. Is it worth it?" Talon asked. "Is survival worth the cost?" Chen thought about all the people who had died, human and alien, all the sacrifices, all the pain. "Ask me again in 100 years, she said. "When those children we saw today have children of their own. When they grow up in a galaxy that's both strong and kind, both peaceful and prepared, then we'll know if it was worth it." Talon was silent for a moment. Then it nodded. "I think I understand now. You humans. You were never monsters. You were just the only ones who remembered what the universe really is. What is it? Chen asked. Beautiful, Talon said, but dangerous. And survival requires both peace and the ability to fight for that peace. Chen smiled. Now you sound like a human. No, Talon said. I sound like a citizen of the new galaxy, one where we remember both who we were and who we can become. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the harvesters were regrouping, planning their return. But the galaxy would be ready. Humanity had taught them well. The war machines that had once frightened the Council now protected it. The species that had been feared as monsters were now honored as guardians. And the galaxy that had been built on artificial peace learned to build a real one, a peace protected by those willing to fight for it. A peace worth keeping, a peace that would last. Commander Eric Russell stared at the message on his screen and felt his mouth go dry. After decades of searching the stars for alien life, humanity had finally made contact. But not in the way anyone had hoped. Is this verified? Eric asked, his voice steady despite the pounding of his heart. Lieutenant Diane Powell nodded. Signal origin is approximately 2.3 light-years away and closing. Translation algorithms are 98% confident in the meaning. The message was simple. Your world has been noted. Prepare for inspection and categorization. Eric read between the lines. In diplomatic terms, it was the equivalent of a predator informing its prey that dinner would be served soon. He pulled up the visual feed from the long-range telescopes. The approaching ships resembled massive arrowheads, their dark hulls absorbing rather than reflecting light. "Get me Admiral Miller," he ordered. Within minutes, the stern face of Susan Miller filled his screen. At 62, she had led Earth's defense fleet through its formation years, though never in actual combat. No one had fought actual battles in space. Until now. "You've seen the transmission?" Eric asked. "I have," Miller replied. "And the preliminary scans of their vessels. We're outmatched, Commander." "With respect, Admiral, we don't know that yet. We know nothing about them." Miller's expression softened slightly. "That's why I'm putting you in charge of first contact defense. Your background in xenobiology might give us an edge." Eric nodded. Before joining the military, he had been a leading researcher in theoretical alien biology. "I'll need all resources directed to gathering information. Anything we can learn might help." Over the next 72 hours, Eric slept little as data poured in from observatories across the solar system. The approaching fleet consisted of 7 massive vessels and dozens of smaller ones. Their technology was unlike anything humans had developed, using principles that seemed to bend the laws of physics. More disturbing were the glimpses of the aliens themselves. The few unclear images showed massive reptilian creatures with natural armor plating and powerful limbs ending in what appeared to be venomous claws. "They're apex predators," Eric explained in the emergency council meeting. Representatives from all Earth nations watched with grim faces. Everything about their biology suggests they evolved as hunters, not builders. The technology almost seems added on, rather than developed naturally through their evolution. "What does that tell us?" asked the representative from the African Union. "It tells us they're conquerors," Admiral Miller said flatly. "They've likely taken technology from other species they've encountered." "And defeated," someone added quietly. Eric brought up his analysis. "There's something else. Their ships, their weapons, even their communication style, it's all direct. Overwhelming force. No subtlety, no deception. They've never needed it." Council President Maya Garcia leaned forward. "Are you suggesting they have a weakness?" "Not exactly a weakness," Eric replied. "More like a blind spot. They've evolved as the top predators, never needing to hide or adapt. Humans evolved differently. We were persistence hunters. We survived through endurance, cooperation, tool use, and adaptability." Admiral Miller studied the tactical display. "So while they're stronger and have better technology, we might have an advantage in strategy?" "It's a theory," Eric admitted, "but it might be all we have." As the alien fleet entered the outer solar system, humanity prepared. The plan was simple but dangerous. Instead of concentrating their forces, Earth's ships would separate into smaller mobile groups. Attack, retreat, regroup, attack again. Never present a single target. The day the Vargoth, as they called themselves in a second, more detailed message, entered Mars orbit, Eric stood on the bridge of the EDF Challenger, Earth's newest defensive vessel. "They're broadcasting," Lieutenant Powell reported. The screen filled with the image of a massive reptilian creature. Its scales gleamed like burnished copper and vertical pupils narrowed in what Eric recognized as amusement rather than aggression. "I am Hunt Commander Drekthar of the Vargoth Dominion," the creature announced, its words translated by the computer. "Your species has been assessed as Class 3, non-threatening intelligent life. You will submit representatives for study and provide resources as required. Resistance is—" The alien made a sound that the translator couldn't process. Something. Between a hiss and a laugh, Eric stepped forward. "This is Commander Eric Russell of Earth. We acknowledge your message but not your authority. Earth and its people are not available for study or resource extraction." The alien's head tilted, its movements surprisingly bird-like despite its reptilian appearance. "Interesting. Your species appears to lack both natural weapons and sufficient artificial ones, yet you speak as equals." Its massive jaw opened in what might have been a smile, revealing rows of serrated teeth. "This will make the hunt more satisfying." The transmission cut off. Almost immediately, the smaller Vargoth vessels began moving toward Earth. "They're launching," Eric reported to Admiral Miller. "Exactly as expected. Direct approach. No attempt at deception. Implement Operation Scattered Hunter," Miller ordered. Across the solar system, Earth's defense fleet split into pre-planned groups. Captain Alan Hayes led his squadron behind Jupiter's moons. Lieutenant Grace Taylor positioned her vessels in Mars orbit, appearing vulnerable and isolated. The Vargoth ships accelerated toward Taylor's group, weapon systems charging. "They've taken the bait," Eric reported. "Hayes's team is in position." The trap was set. Taylor's ships weren't defenseless. They were bait. When the Vargoth committed to the attack, Hayes's squadron emerged from hiding with experimental electromagnetic pulse weapons designed to target the aliens' neural command systems. The first shots were fired not by the powerful Vargoth weapons, but by the supposedly primitive human vessels. The pulses hit the lead Vargoth ships, causing them to drift off course as their systems temporarily failed. "Direct hits," Hayes reported, his voice tense but controlled. Their shields weren't configured to block that specific frequency. For possibly the first time in their species' history, the Vargoth experienced tactical defeat. 3 of their advanced ships floated powerless as Taylor's vessels retreated to a safe distance. On the main Vargoth vessel, Drekthar raged. The small, soft creatures had tricked him, had hidden their true capabilities, had fought not like prey, but like hunters. "Full assault," he ordered. "No more games." As the remaining Vargoth ships regrouped for a more determined attack, Eric watched the tactical display with a mixture of hope and dread. The first exchange had gone better than expected, but the real battle was just beginning. "They'll adapt," he warned Miller. "But so will we." The Admiral nodded. For the first time in their history, they're fighting an enemy that thinks. Let's show them what that means. As the Vargoth fleet approached Earth, humanity prepared for a fight unlike any in their history. Not just for survival, but to prove that in the galaxy's great game of predator and prey, humans would not be the hunted. Drekthar paced the command deck of his flagship, his claws clicking against the metal floor. The defeat of his advanced ships was impossible, yet it had happened. These humans, these soft creatures without natural weapons, had somehow outmaneuvered the galaxy's most feared hunters. "Report," he growled at his second-in-command. 3 escort vessels disabled by unknown energy pulse," replied Subcommander Vaska. "Systems restored after 17 minutes of failure. No casualties, but—" Vaska hesitated. "Speak," Drekthar ordered. "The humans did not destroy our disabled ships. They had the opportunity but withdrew instead." Drekthar's scaled brow furrowed. This made no sense. In the thousands of worlds the Vargoth had conquered, no species had ever shown such restraint. Victory meant elimination of the enemy. What game were these humans playing? They are testing us, he decided. Prepare for planetary assault. We will meet these creatures on their own ground and show them what true predators are capable of. On Earth, in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Eric Russell studied the Vargoth fleet movements with growing concern. They're spreading out, he told Admiral Miller. Preparing for a multi-point landing strategy. Miller nodded grimly. As expected, Hayes's ambush bought us time, but they were always going to bring the fight to Earth. The room fell silent as everyone considered what ground combat against the Vargoth would mean. The aliens were twice the size of humans, naturally armored and equipped with lethal claws and teeth. In close quarters, no human would stand a chance in direct combat. Major Kelly, Miller addressed a stocky, gray-haired man at the tactical station. Is your team ready? Major Peter Kelly nodded. As ready as we can be, Admiral. North American Command Center is prepped with the sonic weapons Dr. Rodriguez designed. If the scans of Vargoth physiology are accurate, they should be effective. Eric turned to the scientist in question. Chief Engineer Lisa Rodriguez had barely slept in 3 days, working to develop weapons based on the limited information they had about Vargoth biology. The sonics will work, Lisa said with quiet confidence. Their auditory systems are highly developed for hunting. What gives them an advantage in detecting prey also makes them vulnerable to targeted sound frequencies. And the other preparations? Miller asked. In place, Kelly confirmed. We're not fighting them strength against strength. That would be suicide. The meeting was interrupted by an urgent alert. Lieutenant Powell's voice came over the comm system. Multiple Vargoth landing craft detected. Impact in 28 minutes at 12 separate locations. Miller stood. This is it, people. Remember, we're not fighting like prey, we're fighting like humans. As the Vargoth landing craft entered Earth's atmosphere, defense systems around the globe activated. Not the obvious missile batteries and anti-aircraft guns the aliens would expect, but hidden improvised weapons that no predator would anticipate from their prey. The first landing occurred near Chicago, now evacuated except for military personnel. Sergeant Jack Morrison watched from his concealed position as the Vargoth craft touched down in Grant Park. The door opened, and massive reptilian figures emerged, weapons ready. Jack tapped his comm unit. Targets in sight, proceeding with test. Protocol. His small squad had simple orders. Observe Vargoth behavior and test different engagement tactics. Not to win, just to learn. The Vargoth moved with frightening speed despite their size, spreading out with practiced efficiency. Jack gave the signal, and a small drone buzzed into view, drawing the aliens' attention. One of the Vargoth fired, destroying it instantly. Phase 1, Jack whispered. They shoot at movement. The next test involved a soldier breaking cover and running away from the aliens. The response was immediate. 3 Vargoth abandoned their formation to chase the fleeing human, exactly as natural predators would. Phase 2 confirmed they chase runners. The third test was the riskiest. Private Sam Wilson stepped out into the open, facing the Vargoth directly. He stood his ground, weapon lowered. The aliens hesitated. This wasn't prey behavior. The momentary confusion lasted only seconds, but it was enough to confirm Jack's theory. Phase 3 confirmed. They're thrown off by prey that doesn't act like prey. Jack relayed the findings to command as his team retreated. Similar tests across the globe were yielding the same results. The Vargoth, for all their advanced technology and physical superiority, were still bound by their evolutionary instincts, and those instincts could be exploited. At the North American Command Center, Major Kelly prepared his defense. Unlike conventional military installations with obvious fortifications, Kelly had redesigned the approach to the base to confuse predator instincts, false openings, unexpected barriers, and terrain that forced the attackers to bunch up rather than spread out. When the Vargoth assault team arrived, they found not a heavily defended fortress, but what appeared to be a poorly protected facility. The lead Vargoth, sensing easy prey, charged forward, directly into the range of Lisa Rodriguez's sonic weapons. The effect was immediate and devastating. The high-frequency sound waves, inaudible to human ears, caused the Vargoth to writhe in pain, dropping their weapons as they tried to cover their hearing organs. "Fire," Kelly ordered, and his soldiers emerged from hidden positions, targeting the disoriented aliens with weapons designed to penetrate their natural armor at close range. The Vargoth, expecting to be the hunters, suddenly found themselves the hunted. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In Beijing, Chinese forces used underground tunnel networks to appear and disappear, striking the confused aliens from unexpected angles. In Nairobi, Kenyan special forces utilized environmental traps that even the Vargoth's enhanced senses couldn't detect until too late. Aboard his orbiting flagship, Drekthar received increasingly disturbing reports. His ground forces were taking unprecedented casualties against an enemy that should have been easily overwhelmed. "This makes no sense," he snarled. "They are physically inferior in every way. Yet they fight differently than any species we have encountered," Vasca observed. "They do not flee as prey should. They do not charge as predators would. They adapt." Drekthar slammed his clawed hand against the command console. "Order all ground forces to return to orbit. We must reassess our approach." As the Vargoth retreat began, Eric Russell received the reports with cautious optimism. The ground engagement had been costly, hundreds of human lives lost, but the aliens had withdrawn. "They're learning," he warned Admiral Miller. "Next time they won't underestimate us." "And we'll be ready," Miller replied. "Dr. Wright thinks she's close to decoding their main communication system. If she succeeds, we may gain a critical advantage." Eric's nodded, but his expression remained troubled. "We've won the first exchanges, but they'll adapt their tactics. And we still don't know how many ships they have beyond our solar system." "One battle at a time, Commander," Miller said firmly. "Today, humanity showed the galaxy's apex predators that Earth isn't their prey. Tomorrow, we show them we're hunters too." As night fell over a planet still bracing for war, the stars seemed different to those watching them. No longer points of wonder and exploration, but potential sources of danger. Yet with that fear came a new resolve. Humans had faced the galaxy's greatest predators and survived the first encounter. Whatever came next, they would face it together, not as the hunted, but as hunters in their own right. Dr. Olivia Wright had not left the communications lab in 3 days. Empty coffee cups surrounded her workstation as she stared at the screen, her eyes red from lack of sleep. The Vargoth communication signals were unlike anything she had ever studied, yet there was a pattern, a logic she was beginning to grasp. "I think I've got it," she said, her voice hoarse from disuse. Her assistant looked up from his own terminal. "The encryption? Not just that, their entire communication network." Olivia pointed to her screen where alien symbols flowed across in complex patterns. "They don't just send messages, they send commands, automated instructions to their ships and troops." Commander Eric Russell was called immediately. He arrived at the lab within minutes, Admiral Miller joining by secure video link. "Show me," Eric said without preamble. Olivia pulled up her findings. "The Vargoth operate on a hierarchical system more rigid than anything we use. Every command flows from the top down, with almost no initiative permitted at lower levels. That fits with their predator psychology," Eric noted. "In pack hunters, only the alpha makes decisions." "Exactly. But here's the critical part." Olivia highlighted a section of code. "They're calling for reinforcements, a second fleet, at least twice the size of the first." Admiral Miller's expression darkened on the video screen. "Time frame? Based on the signal strength and light speed limitations, I'd say we have 3 weeks before they arrive." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Earth had barely survived the first assault. A force twice that size would be devastating. "There's something else," Olivia added. "I've found what might be a weakness in their network. If we could introduce a specific signal pattern into their command channel, we might disrupt their chain of command temporarily." Eric leaned forward. "Temporarily is better than nothing. Keep working on it, Doctor." As Eric left the lab, he was met by Colonel Ben Carter, head of Earth's newly formed Space Strike Force. Carter was a tall, lean man with a perpetual look of calculation in his eyes. I heard about the reinforcements, Carter said, falling into step beside Eric. We can't win against those numbers, not with our current approach. What are you suggesting? Carter stopped walking, making Eric turn to face him. We need to take the fight to them. Right now they're retreating, regrouping. They think they have time. We need to hit them before the reinforcements arrive. With what? Eric asked. Their technology is still far beyond ours. Not as far as it was a week ago. Carter led Eric to a hangar where engineers and scientists swarmed over captured Vargoth equipment. We've been reverse engineering their tech. The basic principles aren't impossible to understand, just different from our approach. Eric watched as a human pilot climbed into what appeared to be a modified Vargoth scout ship. You got one working? Carter nodded. 3 so far. Enough for a small strike team. I've selected Captain Ryan Martinez to lead the mission. Captain Martinez approached at the mention of his name. He was younger than Eric expected, perhaps in his early 30s, with a calm demeanor that contrasted with the intensity in his dark eyes. Commander, Martinez greeted Eric. We're ready for this. My team is trained in the simulators non-stop. Simulators based on extremely limited data, Eric pointed out. Better than no preparation at all, Martinez replied. And we have surprise on our side. The Vargoth don't expect us to come to them. The plan, when presented to Admiral Miller and the World Defense Council, was controversial. Sending a small team in barely understood alien vessels seemed like a suicide mission. But as satellite imagery showed the Vargoth fleet regrouping at the edge of the solar system, the alternatives seemed equally grim. What's the objective? President Garcia asked after Carter laid out the mission parameters. 2 goals, Carter replied. First, gather intelligence on their fleet strength and positions. Second, if possible, plant Dr. Wright's disruption signal into their command network. Miller studied the mission outline. And if they're captured? The unspoken question hung in the air. What would the Vargoth do to human prisoners? We won't be, Martinez said quietly. One way or another. 3 days later, the stolen Vargoth vessels left Earth under cover of a meteor shower, their modified engines disguised to match Vargoth energy signatures. Captain Martinez led the 3-ship team, with 12 crew members total. All volunteers, who understood the risks. On the bridge of his small craft, Martinez watched Earth shrink behind them. Stealth systems engaged. Keep calm silence unless absolutely necessary. His pilot, Lieutenant Kyle Bishop, guided the alien vessel with careful precision. Course set for the Vargoth fleet position. ETA 14 hours. Meanwhile, on the Vargoth command ship, Drekthar faced the most difficult conversation of his long career. On the screen before him was Matriarch Salat, supreme leader of the Vargoth Dominion. Her scales were pale with age, but her eyes burned with the same predatory intensity as her younger kin. Explain again, she said, her voice carrying the weight of authority. How your assault force was repelled by creatures with no natural defenses. Drekthar struggled to find words that wouldn't sound like excuses. The humans fight differently, Matriarch. They do not follow predictable patterns. They use their environment and their technology in ways we have not encountered before. You mean they think, Salat replied, her tone making it clear this was not a compliment to the humans, but a criticism of Drekthar. They adapt, while you rely on strength alone. Our reinforcements will arrive soon, Drekthar assured her. We will crush them with overwhelming force. Salat leaned closer to the screen. See that you do. The Dominion has never failed to subjugate a world. I will not have the first failure recorded during my reign. As the communication ended, Drekthar turned to his advisors. Prepare a full assault plan. When our reinforcements arrive, we will hit every major population center simultaneously. No more measured approach. Sub-Commander Vasca looked troubled. The humans have shown they can adapt quickly to our tactics. Perhaps we should study them more before. We are Vargoth. Drekthar snarled. We do not study prey. We hunt it to extinction. What Drekthar didn't know was that his prey was already hunting him. Captain Martinez's small fleet had reached the outer solar system and was moving silently between the scattered Vargoth vessels, gathering data and planting small signal repeaters designed by Dr. Wright. Final repeater placed, Martinez reported, in a whispered communication to Earth. Beginning Phase 2. The human ships split up, each targeting different sections of the Vargoth fleet. Martinez's vessel approached the fuel depot ships, craft that carried the exotic materials that powered the Vargoth fleet. Weapons ready, Bishop reported. Target locked. Martinez took a deep breath. Fire. The modified human weapons struck the Vargoth fuel ship with pinpoint accuracy. The explosion was beyond anything they had expected, lighting up the darkness of space. All ships, execute your strikes and retreat as planned, Martinez ordered. Across the Vargoth fleet, confusion erupted. Their sensors showed Vargoth energy signatures attacking Vargoth ships, an impossibility in their hierarchical system. As the human vessels slipped away, Dr. Wright's signal repeaters activated, flooding the Vargoth command network with contradictory orders. Ship turned against ship as confused captains received what appeared to be legitimate commands to fire on their own allies. For the first time in their history, the mighty Vargoth fleet was thrown into chaos not by a superior force, but by a handful of small vessels and a cleverly designed computer virus. Back on Earth, Eric watched the sensor data with amazement. They did it. They actually did it. Admiral Miller nodded, a rare smile crossing her face. Phase 1 of Carter's plan worked. Now let's see if Martinez can make it back with the intelligence we need. As the stolen ships raced back toward Earth, Martinez sent one final message. Mission accomplished, but we've confirmed the worst. Their reinforcements aren't just coming, they're nearly here, and they're bringing something much bigger than we've seen before. The brief celebration in Earth's command center faded. They had won another battle, but the war was far from over. The real test was still to come. Captain Ryan Martinez and his team returned to Earth as heroes, though there was little time for celebration. The data they had gathered painted a grim picture of what was coming. The Vargoth reinforcements included a massive vessel unlike anything seen before, a planet killer according to the translated Vargoth communications. In the main war room beneath the Rocky Mountains, the World Defense Council gathered to hear Martinez's report. The captain stood before the assembled leaders, still in his flight suit, exhaustion evident on his face. The good news is that our strike caused significant damage to their fleet, Martinez explained, pointing to the tactical display. We destroyed 3 of their fuel ships and 2 weapons platforms. More importantly, Dr. Wright's signal disruption worked even better than expected. Admiral Miller nodded. The confusion in their ranks gave us valuable time, but it won't last forever. No, it won't, Martinez agreed. Their command structure is already reorganizing, and their reinforcements are less than a week away. He brought up the sensor readings of the approaching Vargoth armada. At the center was a ship at least 5 times larger than any they had encountered so far. What is that? President Garcia asked, staring at the massive vessel. They call it the World Cleaver, Martinez replied grimly. From what we could decode, it's designed to crack a planet's crust with some kind of gravity weapon. The room fell silent. Earth's defenses, impressive as they were against the first wave of attackers, would mean nothing against a weapon of that magnitude. Options? Miller asked, looking around the table. Colonel Carter stepped forward. We can't match their firepower, but Captain Martinez's mission proved something important. They're vulnerable to our thinking, to our unpredictability. What are you suggesting? Eric Russell asked. A diplomatic mission, Carter said. The words hung in the air, surprising everyone present. Diplomacy? With predators who want to destroy our planet? Someone asked incredulously. Not traditional diplomacy, Carter clarified. A psychological operation. We send an envoy, directly to their matriarch. All eyes turned to Captain Martinez, who nodded slowly. During our mission, we intercepted communications indicating the matriarch herself is aboard the approaching command vessel. She's coming to personally oversee Earth's submission. And you think we can reason with her? Miller asked skeptically. No, Eric said, understanding dawning. We don't reason with her. We show her something she's never seen before, prey that isn't afraid. The plan that took shape over the next 48 hours was audacious, bordering on insane. A small team would take the most intact of the captured Vargoth vessels and approach the incoming fleet under the guise of a scout ship reporting back. Their goal? To board the matriarch's vessel and broadcast a message not just to her, but to the entire Vargoth fleet. Lieutenant Commander Heather Morrison was selected to lead the mission. With a background in both combat and xenobiology, she understood predator psychology better than almost anyone on Earth, except Eric Russell himself. The key is to never show fear, Eric explained during the mission briefing. The Vargoth interpret fear as confirmation that they're dealing with prey. We need to show them that humans are something else entirely. Not prey, not predators, but adapters, Heather said, nodding in understanding. The team trained intensively for 3 days, practicing Vargoth movement patterns and studying their language and customs. The stolen ship was modified to transmit a special signal, one designed not to disable the Vargoth communications this time, but to hijack them. On the day of launch, Admiral Miller addressed the 6-person team. What you're attempting has never been done before. If you succeed, you might save Earth. If you fail, we won't fail, Heather said simply. As their ship left Earth's atmosphere, humanity held its collective breath. Every available defense system was on high alert, but everyone knew that if Heather's mission failed, there would be little hope of stopping the world cleaver. The journey to intercept the Vargoth fleet took 19 hours. Heather spent most of it reviewing everything known about matriarch Salat. The ancient female was over 200 Earth years old and had overseen the conquest of 17 worlds. She was cunning, ruthless, and utterly convinced of Vargoth superiority. Approaching. Vargoth perimeter, announced their pilot, Lieutenant Trisha Jones. Heather moved to the communication station, transmitting identification codes now. The tense minutes that followed seemed to stretch for hours. Had Dr. Wright correctly decoded the Vargoth recognition signals? Would they be discovered immediately? We're being hailed, Trisha reported. Massive Vargoth face filled their screen. Not the matriarch, but a high-ranking commander. Scout vessel Karath, report your findings, the commander ordered in the Vargoth language. Heather responded using the carefully practiced phrases Dr. Wright had prepared. Human defenses assessed. Requesting direct audience with Fleet Command to deliver critical intelligence. More waiting. Heather forced herself to remain calm, knowing that any sign of anxiety could be detected by the predatory alien's keen senses. Approach. On Vector 639, came the reply finally. You will be escorted. As their small ship moved toward the heart of the Vargoth fleet, they got their first close look at the world cleaver. The massive vessel dwarfed everything around it. Its hull covered in what appeared to be enormous energy emitters pointed downward, designed to focus devastating power on a planet's surface. 2 Vargoth fighters flanked them as they approached, a docking bay on the command ship. The moment of greatest danger was at hand. They would soon come face to face with the Vargoth with no ship to protect them. Remember, Heather told her team, move confidently. Make eye contact. No sudden movements, but never cower or back away. As they disembarked, they were met by a group of armed Vargoth guards. The aliens towered over the humans, their scaled bodies radiating power and threat. The lead guard assessed them with vertical pupilled eyes, clearly confused by their appearance. You are not Vargoth, he stated, weapon raising slightly. We are human envoys, Heather replied calmly, looking directly into the guard's eyes, a challenge no prey species would dare. We have critical information for your matriarch regarding the capabilities of our species. The guard hesitated, thrown off by their behavior. After conferring with his superiors, he reluctantly led them deeper into the massive ship. The corridors were designed for beings much larger than humans, giving everything an oversized, threatening quality. But Heather's team maintained their composure, walking with purpose rather than fear. Finally, they were brought to an enormous chamber. At its center sat Matriarch Salat on what could only be described as a throne. Her scales were paler than those of the younger Vargoth, almost silver in places, but her eyes burned with ancient intelligence and predatory instinct. "So," she said, her translator converting her hisses and growls into human language. "The prey comes willingly into the jaws of the hunter." Heather stepped forward. "We are not prey, Matriarch Salat, and that is precisely why we have come." As she spoke, her team activated the hidden transmitters they carried. Across the Vargoth fleet, on every ship and communication device, screens began to show the same image: humans and Vargoth, face to face. The first true communication between the galaxy's oldest predators and its newest hunters had begun, and the fate of Earth hung in the balance. Matriarch Salat's eyes narrowed as she realized what was happening. The humans had somehow hijacked the Vargoth communication network. Every ship in her fleet was now watching this unexpected confrontation. "You dare?" she hissed, rising to her full height. She towered over Heather, her ancient scales gleaming under the chamber's lights. "We dare," Heather replied, her voice steady. "Because that's what humans do. We take risks, we adapt, we survive." Guards moved to surround the human team, weapons ready. With a gesture from the matriarch, they stopped. "Speak then, human, before I decide your species is too dangerous to exist." Heather activated a small device she carried. A holographic display appeared between them, showing footage from the battles on Earth and in space. It showed Vargoth warriors being defeated not by superior strength or firepower, but by human ingenuity and unexpected tactics. "We could have shown you scenes of human power," Heather explained. "Our cities, our weapons, our numbers. But that's not what makes us dangerous to you." The hologram shifted to show human history, early humans with simple spears hunting animals much larger than themselves. Humans working together to build shelters against predators. Humans creating ever more complex tools. "We evolved differently than the Vargoth," Heather continued. "You became the strongest, the fastest, the most naturally armed species in your environment. You never needed to change because you were already perfect predators." The matriarch watched with calculating eyes. "And your point? Humans were never the strongest. We were never the fastest. We had no claws, no armor, no venom. So we became something else. We became adaptable. We became thinkers and builders and cooperators." Behind her, Heather's team maintained perfect calm, following her lead and showing no fear before the galaxy's apex predators. "In the short time since we encountered your kind, we've already learned to use your weapons, your ships, your communication systems. Given more time, there's nothing of yours we couldn't adapt to our use." The matriarch circled Heather slowly, studying her as one might study an unexpected new species. "You speak of your weakness as if it is strength. It is our strength," Heather replied. "The Vargoth conquered through power. Humans survived through adaptation." She gestured to the hologram, which now showed Dr. Wright's analysis of Vargoth communication patterns. "We found patterns in your language within days. We learned to fly your ships within a week. We reverse-engineered your weapons in less time than you've spent traveling to our world." For the first time, something like doubt flickered in the ancient matriarch's eyes. "And what do you propose, human? Surrender?" "Coexistence," Heather said simply. "Recognition that the galaxy has room for both hunters and adapters." Drekthar, who had been watching silently from the side of the chamber, stepped forward angrily. "Matriarch, this is a trick. The humans cannot match our strength. The World Cleaver will reduce their planet to rubble." "And then what?" Heather asked, turning to face him. "How many ships will you lose in the process? How many warriors? Even if you destroy Earth, how many human ships are already among your fleet carrying our ideas to every corner of your empire?" She turned back to the matriarch. "You've ruled for centuries by understanding what it means to be the perfect predator, but you've never faced a species that thinks differently until now." The matriarch was silent for a long moment. Throughout the Vargoth fleet, thousands of warriors watched and waited. Young officers, curious about these strange humans. Veterans, uncertain about an enemy unlike any they had faced before. "You have courage," the matriarch finally said. "Coming here, standing before me. That is not the action of prey. No, Heather agreed. It's the action of equals. The word hung in the air, shocking to Vargoth ears. No species had ever claimed equality with the mighty hunters of the stars. The matriarch moved to her command console and studied the reports from the previous battles, the human victories, the unexpected tactics, the rapid adaptation to Vargoth technology. If I ordered your world destroyed now, what would happen? She asked, almost curious. War, Heather replied simply. A long war. One that would cost you more than you've ever paid for a conquest. And even if you won, you'd never be sure you'd found all of us. Humans have a concept called guerrilla warfare. The idea that even a weaker force can eventually exhaust a stronger one through persistence and surprise. A concept the Vargoth had never needed to consider in their long history of easy victories. Drekthar snarled. These are the words of prey trying to avoid the inevitable. No, the matriarch said thoughtfully. These are the words of a hunter who uses its mind rather than its claws. She turned her ancient gaze back to Heather. Your species intrigues me, human. You have no natural weapons, yet you have managed what 17 other worlds could not. You have given the Vargoth pause. On Earth, in the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, every screen showed the confrontation taking place light years away. Admiral Miller, Commander Russell, and the others watched in tense silence as Heather Morrison stood her ground before the most feared predator in the galaxy. She's doing it, Eric whispered. She's making them think. The matriarch's next. Words confirmed his assessment. I propose a test, she announced. A period of observation. The Vargoth will withdraw to the edge of your solar system. We will watch, we will learn, and then we will decide if humans are prey, predators, or something new entirely. Heather nodded. And the world cleaver? The matriarch made a gesture that the translators interpreted as something between amusement and respect. It stays with my fleet. Trust, like coexistence, must be earned. As the human team prepared to return to their ship, the matriarch addressed Heather one last time. Tell your leaders this, human. In all our history, we have never negotiated. We have never compromised. We have only conquered. Your Earth has earned something no world ever has: time. When Heather's team returned to Earth, they were greeted, not with parades, but with cautious relief. The Vargoth fleet had indeed withdrawn to the edge of the solar system, the world cleaver positioned where it could still reach Earth if the matriarch gave the order. In the weeks that followed, an uneasy peace settled over both species. Carefully coordinated exchanges began. Limited technology, cultural information, historical records. The Vargoth studied humans with the intensity of scientists examining a new and potentially dangerous species. Humans studied the Vargoth with the curiosity that had carried them from caves to the stars. 6 months after the confrontation on the matriarch's vessel, a formal treaty was signed. Not an alliance, the Vargoth did not ally with other species, but a recognition of boundaries and mutual respect. As Eric Russell watched the signing ceremony from the United Nations building in New York, Admiral Miller joined him by the window. Do you think it will last? She asked. Eric watched as the Vargoth representatives towered over the human diplomats, still looking like the perfect predators they were. I think it has to. They've realized that being the strongest isn't always enough, and we've learned that sometimes standing your ground is more effective than showing force. A new balance in the galaxy, Miller mused. A new understanding, Eric corrected. The Vargoth are still predators, we're still adapters, but now we both know there's room for different kinds of strength among the stars. As night fell over Earth, citizens looked up at the sky with mixed emotions. Fear still lingered. The Vargoth remained dangerous and not entirely trusted. But there was pride too, and wonder. Humanity had faced the galaxy's greatest hunters and earned their respect not through superior force, but through the same qualities that had carried them from the African savanna to the stars: adaptability, innovation, and the courage to stand together against threats greater than any individual could face alone. The galaxy had changed. The predators had met a species that refused to be prey, and both would never be quite the same again.